LED light strands can take a car audio or custom vehicle interior install from bland and boring to absolutely amazing. We can use LED lights to add a subtle glow to different areas of the build, to light up acrylic, to highlight gear like speakers and amplifiers and subwoofers, to light up laser-etched acrylic sponsor logos. The possibilities for what you can do with LED lighting are endless. But what is the best way to mount the LED lights within the install? How can we cut the strands and wire multiple strands together? Also, how can we make the lights modular so that they're easy to take in and out of the install in case that you need to service them? Well, let's find out, because in this video I'm going to be adding LED light strands to the amplifier rack beauty panel that I'm working on for the Jeep. So here we have the amp rack beauty panel, and the first thing I want to show you guys is between videos, I actually painted the whole back side just to give the back side a finished look. And if you guys remember, I created this piece here. What this piece is going to do is it's going to serve as a surface for the LED lights to actually stick to. Now I want to be able to remove this part so that I can easily wire all the LEDs and then install everything as a full system. And in order to secure this to the main amp rack, I need to attach it with some threaded inserts. These here are the threaded inserts that I'm going to be using. As always, guys, I'll have a link to everything that I use in these videos down in the video description. But here you can see these have threads inside them, machine threads, and they have a much larger thread on the outside, which will thread into the wood. And what's nice about doing this rather than using a wood screw is we can easily take that screw in and out multiple times without degrading the actual thread itself. Now these install with an Allen key. You can see that they have a hex pattern in there. So let's go ahead and get these installed into the amplifier rack. I need to drill holes into the amp rack, and I want to make sure that I do it at the right depth. So this is a cool little trick. You just use a piece of tape wrapped around your drill bit. Now before I drill the holes for the threaded inserts into the base of the material, I want to drill a smaller hole that goes through this top board into the baseboard. I used, here it comes guys, our favorite word, I used template tape in order to stick the piece temporarily in position. I drill several holes because I want to make sure that this piece is good and stout and holds onto the baseboard well. Now I can use the bigger drill bit that's sized for the threaded insert and carefully drill until we match the point that I measured earlier. Now I can use an Allen key to install these into the baseboard. And sorry guys, I really didn't realize that my hand was completely in the way, so I didn't get the best shot of this. Now that all 4 threaded inserts are into the baseboard, I can proceed with securing the LED holding rings. So now that I've got that secured in, before we run the LED lights and stuff, I want to make a plan for mounting these acrylic pieces that I made. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to use a similar method that I used to hold this piece to the amplifier rack to hold the acrylic. I'm going to put threaded inserts into these trim rings, and that will hold the acrylic, but it's not only going to hold the acrylic, I want it to actually hold my metal mesh in position as well. So I'm going to carefully position the metal mesh and the acrylic, and I'm going to use a Sharpie to make some dots so that I know where I'm making a hole in the acrylic will line up with a hole in the metal mesh. I'm able to avoid having to modify the metal mesh later, because I don't know about you guys, but I hate doing work twice. This may seem like kind of a not important thing, but to me, this is one of those things that as you get better and better at a certain skill, like custom fabrication, you start to learn to think a few steps in advance. Now to drill the acrylic, I want to make sure that I use the right drill bit. Again, link down in the video description. I spent a lot of time on the router making these pieces, so I don't want to break them last minute. So by using this drill bit, it drills a really nice clean hole. Another option that can work well is to cover the surface with a piece of painter's tape before you drill. And yes, the acrylic is a little dirty right now, but I'll definitely clean it up with a plastic cleaner before I do the final mounting. Now that I have the acrylic all drilled out with the mounting holes, I can transfer the hole locations to the trim ring. By using that punch, the drill bit won't wander, so when I drill the hole, it will stay exactly where I need it. I then added the 1024 threaded inserts, but unfortunately, I came across a problem. So of course, of all the 1024 screws I have, these are 3/8 and they're too short. And these are 3/4 and they're too long. I need a 1/2 inch. So it's time to go on an adventure. Still looking good. Now what I need to do is I'm going to take off this piece that holds the LED strands, and I want to make sure that I have some channels for the wiring to go between the different parts here. So on the router, I'm just going to make some quick, easy cuts between these sections. I start with using a silver Sharpie to mark the positions of where I want to make these cuts. At the router, I load in a simple straight cutting router bit. I place a scrap piece of wood on top of the table and use it as a straight edge in order to push my workpiece in a straight line that cuts through the bit. After all the channels are made, I can now start prepping the wires that I'm going to use to connect between the different strands of LEDs. These RGB LED light strands that I'm using have 4 conductors, so I'm using 4 different wires. The link to the LED strand that I like to use is available down in the video description, and I start with cutting in the special location and then stripping away the insulative material so that I can access these copper terminal points. Next, to make things easy on myself, I secure this down to a piece of wood using painter's tape. Now this definitely takes some practice, but what you want to do is heat up each of these connection points with a soldering iron and then apply solder, thus tinning the connection. Off camera, I've also tinned each of the 4 wires, and I can now solder these connection points together by just heating up the already applied solder so that the joint melts together. I'll be honest though, this is never that fun of a process, and they do actually make special connectors that allow you to easily land the wires onto the strips. I'd recommend those. I'll link those down below as well. Now I did make one minor mistake, and I cut channels on the top of this piece, whereas I should have cut them on the bottom, so I also cut them on the bottom as well. That way all of the wiring is hidden and secured in position using this piece. So now I can peel the protective backing off of this that protects the adhesive layer, and I can stick each of these into position on this piece. The process of sticking the LED light strands to the piece was quite time consuming. It took me quite a while, but I do have to say I do like that these LED strands have this easy to use adhesive layer. All right, so this was a challenge for sure, but I finally got it all in here. It was just really monotonous to have to get the LED in. You can see that I secured it to the retainer ring in several places with some thin Tessa tape. I made sure that when I wrapped the tape around, I didn't cover any of the LED lights themselves. And now it took some finagling, but I've actually got it secured to the backside. In retrospect, I would recommend that if you're kind of following along or doing something similar, I would say make this gap bigger than 1/4 of an inch. Just so you have a little bit more room for the wiring and the lights themselves. But hey, live and learn. This is what we have to do. We have to constantly look to improve ourselves. And a lot of times that takes practice. Now I can position my acrylic pieces in here, and we'll line them up and secure the metal mesh. After placing the metal mesh into position, I then secured both the metal mesh and the acrylic rings using the fasteners that I purchased earlier. I only attached half the bolts for now just because it's just temporary, just so we can see what it looks like. I still need to actually wrap the front side with vinyl, but let's get this lit up and in the vehicle and see how she looks. All right, so we've got the amplifier rack back into the vehicle here. You can see the equipment down below. Let's do a New Year's Eve style countdown here. 3, 2, let there be light. Oh, it looks so good. Just so you guys know, I'm leaving this protective paper on the laser etched acrylic for now. I'm not gonna take it off until the final install. But dang, this is looking good. Man, what I really like about the way that this looks is because of the formed metal mesh, the light actually really casts up against this, so it kind of highlights the shapes even more, but the light doesn't shine on this part of the grill mesh as much, so you can still see through to the equipment. Man, I'm super happy with the way that this is looking. So let's take a look at a few of the different colors and see this project in the dark. While we're doing that, I want to remind you guys that here on this channel, I do car audio tutorials, reviews, and build log videos just like this one, so if you're new here, I hope that you consider hitting that subscribe button. Now, I'd also love to get your opinion on this video. I know that LED lights aren't for everyone, so let me know down below, do you guys think that LED lights are cool in an install? Do you think that they're kind of gaudy and too flashy? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you'd like to see the full build step-by-step, be sure to check out the playlist on screen. A special thanks goes out to Brian, Ali, EJ, Emmanuel, Rory, Truman, and Jerry, and the rest of the Patreon support team. Patreon basically allows you guys to be my sponsor and help support the videos. If you find value in these videos and would like access to some extra special perks and to help me with the making of more videos in the future, click the link on screen. Thanks for watching.